Project Search. Hello, it's Danny. Today I'm going to talk to you about the Job Accommodation Network, or JAN. Please pay close attention to this presentation. The Job Accommodation Network is a resource that you very likely will use at some point in order to figure out what type of accommodation you might need to be able to perform that job that you really want. Project Search UTMC Remote Learning using the Job Accommodation Network, or JAN. What is JAN? The Job Accommodation Network is a service provided by the United States Department of Labor's Office of Disability Employment Policy, or ODEP. JAN is one of several ODEP Technical Assistance Centers. JAN facilitates the employment and retention of workers with disabilities by providing employers, employment providers, people with disabilities, their family members, and other interested parties with information on job accommodations and related subjects. So Job Accommodation Network is part of the Department of Labor of the United States and their Office of Disability Employment Policy. How do people use JAN? Watch the following video for an overview of the ways in which people use the Job Accommodation Network. Then we will explore the JAN website and check out some of its features.
Welcome to the Job Accommodation Network, a free service of the U.S. Department of Labor's Office of Disability Employment Policy and the nation's premier workplace accommodation resource. We are JAN. Our comprehensive services include technical assistance, training, publications, and research on workplace accommodations and the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Anyone can use our services, but our biggest customers are employers and individuals with disabilities. People can access our services by calling us, using our website, emailing, and texting. We are also available on several social networks. Prior to 1992, JAN averaged 630 accommodation contacts per month. But in 1992, when the ADA went into effect for employers, these soared to over 1,600 per month and now reach more than 4,200 per month. Annually, JAN consultants handle over 50,000 inquiries via telephone and electronic services, and 8 million customers visit the JAN website. As you might imagine, many of the questions we get are about technologies to improve workplace productivity for employees with disabilities. As computers, tablets, smartphones, wireless communication, and similar technology become common in workplaces, employees with all types of impairments need to be able to use the technology. JAN consultants have in-depth knowledge about all types of technologies, and we'd like to show you a few examples. Here you see Tay using speech recognition software to interact with his tablet. This technology allows him to use his voice to perform all the functions he could perform if he was typing at his keyboard. This technology is useful for employees who have limitations related to fine motor, sensory, or learning. Here is Byron using a wearable device. A wearable device may be controlled by movements of the eyes, neck, or other parts of the body, which can be useful for employees with various disabilities. There are thousands of other products available, and JAN can help you identify one that works for you. And here's Ming showing another example of an accommodation that can improve the productivity of an employee with a disability. Ming is using a service animal to assist with an emergency evacuation. This type of accommodation can help employees with conditions that cause mental, sensory, cognitive, and mobility limitations. JAN is also strongly committed to serving our Spanish-speaking workforce. JAN's outreach efforts include consultation and technical assistance in Spanish. Here's Jose translating for a Spanish-speaking customer. One of the exciting things JAN is doing is researching the cost and benefits of accommodations. Fearful of high costs? Well, you don't need to be. Initial JAN data show that most workplace accommodations cost nothing. When there is a cost, it typically ranges from $500 to $600. For example, telework, flexible scheduling, access to a personal assistant, parking, and workstation access are accommodations that can cost very little.
Jan provides all this technical assistance and information free of charge. Get one-on-one technical assistance or find out more in Jan's blog, Consultant's Corner, and newsletter. All communications are confidential and available to anyone interested in workplace accommodation. We'd like to leave you with one message. Many of you may know the term job accommodation, but we like to think of it as increasing workplace productivity, often for everyone, by investing in our workplace. Let's do the math. Over half of all accommodations cost nothing. When there is a cost to a job accommodation, it typically falls between $500 and $600. And 75% of all employers who contact Jan report that accommodations are effective. Make the investment. Start with Jan. We're here for you.
Let's find the Job Accommodation Network online. Here I am at the Google search page, and I'm going to type in Job Accommodation Network search. And right there at the top of my results is the Job Accommodation Network. So I click there, and it brings me to the home page. This is the Job Accommodation Network homepage. There are a lot of different ways to use this site. What I want to focus on today, though, is this practical aspect where you can go to A to Z here and click. And when you get to that page, you find that you are at the A to Z of disabilities and accommodations. And it is a way to link to ideas of accommodations in addition to some other information. So I'm going to scroll down to the interactive section of the page here. Now this is where we can really get some specific ideas about accommodations for specific barriers. I'll give you an example of a potential barrier that you might face. So let's say that if you have an intellectual or developmental disability that affects your ability to measure and count things, but you're interested in a job that would require you to count and measure things. Well, we look here and there are several tabs. You have by disability, by limitation, by work-related function, by topic, and by accommodation. So the thing we're concerned about is a work-related function, namely being able to measure and count things. So we're going to go with work-related function. Now, we can go down here and see, we can either type our own phrase in and search for things that way, or we can look at these commonly searched words and phrases. So looking at all of these, I think the thing that comes closest to the concern about being able to count and measure is to use cognitive function. Someone who is limited in using cognitive functions while at work may have difficulty concentrating, learning, retaining information. All right, so we're on the right track if we're looking for ways to help us with a task where we might have to count or measure things. So let's look down the list of ideas of accommodations. You have things such as additional training time, training refreshers, aid, assistant, attendant, a color-coded system. So that would be individuals with certain developmental disabilities can benefit from having color coordination applied to their office products and files to help them organize. Oh, look, counting and measuring aids. So we have some ideas here of actual specific products, and they even have links to them that we can click on. They have extra time. Perhaps someone with a developmental or intellectual disability can be given extra time to complete a task as an accommodation. And we can go on down the list and see a lot of other different types of ideas, job coaches, line guides, and so on. In addition to what I just showed you, there are a lot of other things you can do with this website. As we go through Project Search, you'll be using and learning about the other functions on the Job Accommodation Network website. And here's your challenge. So before we meet to discuss Jan, try to think of a barrier someone might face in the workplace due to a disability. We will use the Jan website as a group to discover possible accommodations a person with a disability could use to overcome that barrier. I'm looking forward to hearing the ideas you come up with for challenges that people might face due to disabilities, so that we can go into the JAN website together and kind of see how it works. Connect challenges with solutions, if you will. Stay safe out there. I'll see you soon.
Project Search.